So a quick disclaimer about this video. Normally when we travel, we are going to see the sights and experience the culture. In this case, we did not do that. We were going to support our friends getting married and kind of have a once-in-a-lifetime experience from the inside, see what it's like to live in a small city in Kazakhstan where most people would not spend the time to visit. And since we were spending a lot of time with our friends and their families, I did not feel comfortable constantly sticking a camera in everyone's face, filming everything that was going on. So a lot of this video is filmed on my phone, so I hope you bear with me because our trip to Kazakhstan was absolutely amazing. Now, back to the video. Alright guys, we are currently in Kazakhstan and we're staying with friends. We're not staying in a hotel and we're kind of, doing some stuff to get ready for their wedding. So I don't know how much filming I'll be able to do. So I might have to do a lot of the explanation and voiceover, but yeah, we spent like 22 hours traveling from our house to their house. So I'm gonna try and stay awake, have some fun, maybe do some go-karts tonight, eat a lot of good food, see what there is to see. After we dropped off our bags at our friend's house, we went out and went go-karting. Kazakhstan is a post-Soviet satellite country, and that means a lot of big abandoned factories. And I use the word abandoned lightly because all of this crumbling infrastructure has now been turned into these amazing go-kart tracks or escape rooms and other things like that that just add this incredible ambiance to whatever you're doing. The go-karts were really loud though. After go-karting, we went out for dinner and got some shashlik, which is like Russian barbecue. It was delicious. Now, we weren't staying in a hotel, we were staying with some family friends kind of around the corner from where our friends lived. And I noticed a few things about Kazakhstan that were definitely different from what I'm used to in the US and what I've experienced in Korea. The first is that everybody has guard dogs. You can always hear them barking, and everyone's houses are completely fenced in little compounds. The guard dog at our place was the cutest thing in the world. She was so friendly and so loving, and was one of my favorite parts about our trip to Kazakhstan. The other thing we noticed is that all of the water pipes are above ground, and when they cross over a street, they're just propped up on poles so that they can cross over and cars can drive underneath. And it added this really interesting kind of Hunger Games, post-apocalyptic vibe to everything that Rob and I actually really liked. Now, there wasn't a lot of tourist things to do in the city that we were staying, but our friend's mom took it upon herself to take us around to the 3 churches in the town. The Russian church, and a mosque, which is the first mosque I was ever in, and it was so beautiful. It was more beautiful on the first floor, but because men and women are separated for prayer, I didn't get to really see that part, and I forgot to give Rob the camera. And don't worry, it was empty, there was no one praying, and they did allow us to film. One of my other favorite things about Kazakhstan was all of the food that we ended up eating. There was multiple dinners before the wedding, and always after dinner we would go back home and have tea, which is not just tea, but also a massive spread of dried fruits and nuts and other really good food. So I was in second heaven. This was an indoor market we visited to do a little bit of shopping for the wedding. And they were selling a ton of stuff here, but most of what I filmed was the kind of nuts and dried fruit, because that's a lot of what we were buying. And the vendors were constantly giving us samples. It was like how they were selling their products. They would insist that we try something. And by the end, me and my friend, we were so stuffed, we had to start refusing because we had eaten so many samples. Okay, I know I haven't been doing a lot of talking to the camera, but like I said, I'm always surrounded by people, so it always feels a little awkward. It's 9:30 in the morning, and I'm going over to the bride and groom's house to get my hair done. It's the day of the wedding. It's exciting. Now, I didn't film a lot of the wedding day because, again, these are my two best friends in Korea, and I just wanted to enjoy and appreciate their ceremony, and they were speaking in Russian, and it takes me a lot of concentration to understand everything, and so I didn't really film a lot. But it was an absolutely beautiful ceremony, and there was food from the very beginning to the very end. I mean, just look at that spread. A lot of the wedding was really similar in terms of decoration to what we have in the US, but there were a few things that were different and interesting to see. One of the biggest differences was the main course was a very traditional Kazakh dish, horse. Now, my friend had warned me ahead of time that this was the main dish at the wedding, and I had promised him that I would take one bite. Honestly, it wasn't so bad. It kind of tasted like boiled beef and stew, but I took my bite and I moved on to some other food. Another really interesting, different thing about this wedding was that they had a lot of games. There was an MC that was kind of keeping the flow of the wedding going. And there would be dancing. And then there would be a performance by, a jazz musician maybe, or an opera singer. And then they would have these games for the guests to play that the bride and groom would either watch or sometimes get involved in. And at first I was a little skeptical about this, but they ended up being really, really fun and really funny. Of course, there was plenty of dancing to go around. And the wedding started at 2, and the after party ended around 2:30 a.m. So, no, I did not film all of that. I kind of lost my focus on filming about halfway through the night, but suffice it to say, it was an amazing time. The next day, the whole entourage of relatives and family and friends that had flown in all drove out to the nearest big city, formerly known as Astana, now known as Nur-Sultan. The city was actually really beautiful with lots of waterfalls and flower gardens to walk through. So we took our time kind of walking around the main center of the city. And then we all went up into this giant tower. The views from the top were absolutely amazing. You could even see the presidential palace. And then after that, I had to be dropped off at the airport to head back to work the next day, and that was that. Alright, well, I'm on the plane home. I have the most beautiful sunset view, and the seat next to me is empty. It's kind of sucky going back and having to go straight to work, but as far as flights go, this isn't bad. I'm going to call the video here, guys. If you like this little video and you want to come on more adventures, make sure to click the subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next adventure.